Welcome everyone. We're just gonna wait for a few more people to come in.
Hello, Janina. Can you hear me?
Hi. Hi Sam. Yes, I can hear you. Just
Awesome.
waiting for a few more people to come in.
Okay.
Okay. Welcome everyone. So I'm Janina and I'm thrilled to be here with you today alongside Samantha, our sales director. Welcome to today's webinar, Quote Anywhere and the Site Survey. So today we will provide a tour of Quote Anywhere and the sales workflow for job estimate creation, use of the onboard digital canvas for solution design, proposal and contact, document signing processes, and all from the field or the desktop. A review of product licensing, technical requirements, configuration of default proposal and checkbox options, and how to start using the product will be covered. After this webinar, you will be able to configure a default proposal document and checkbox, user workflows to create estimates and design surveys, and use the application for your organization both on the mobile and desktop. As always, we want you to get the most out of your today's session. So if you have any questions at any point, don't hesitate to ask. And whether you need us to slow down, revisit a point, or dive deeper into something, just drop your questions in the chat. And yeah, let's dive in and make the most out of your Quote Anywhere and site survey. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Janina. Welcome, everybody. So today is a system admin webinar, but I will be teaching today's session on Quote Anywhere, and Michelle's going to teach next week's session about the approval and commission module and in engineering review in WeEstimate. Reason being is really wanted to give you guys a very good sneak peek of version 6.12 Quote Anywhere that is going to have almost all of the WeEstimate features available here. So you all are going to be the first few to see it on a public webinar. So I'm going to first just go through an A to Z quote, and then I'm going to come back to some defaults for the proposal, like we had discussed on the objectives, which is in the WeEstimate side right now. But then I'm going to end with some of the admin features in 6.12 that you're going to start to see at the end of the summer here. So I'm logged into Quote Anywhere, just like WeOpportunity, web-based, and I'm going to see my recently touched projects here. On the left-hand side is where you're going to see the menu, and as WeOpportunity gets into here, and the rest of the WeEstimate system configuration gets into here, you're going to see that's going to all add. And so this will probably look different than your screen now. I know many of you are on 6.10 and 6.11, which you can only create projects right now. You don't yet have the admin piece and the URG piece that I'm going to show later. I'm going to just start a new project, which is the same as starting a new bin in WeEstimate. I'm going to assign a customer. I'm going to search Valley Hospital and grab the customer that I want. And I'm going to name my job. I'm just going to close my door. Hopefully that background noise isn't too loud for you guys. And then I do get questions about the level 1, 2, and 3. This is essentially the folder levels that are in WeEstimate today. You can select that at the beginning of the job, and I believe coming in a later version, you'll be able to select that within the job. So you kind of ignore the standard Premium Plus. It's really just the folder levels that you need there. And then I have job type, system type, market, and engineer if I want to select any of these. I'll go ahead and do healthcare. And I'm not going to assign an engineer right now, and we'll go more deeply into this on next week's webinar. But I could queue in an engineer at this point and say, hey, you know, I need your help on this quote. They'll get an email notification that I've assigned them as an engineer to this job. They can work on it and then pass it back to me as the salesperson who's ready to go, you know, take it to the next step. Also new into QuoteAnywhere is going to be the fixed price contracts module. So if you do have any fixed contracts like a GSA schedule or a state contract or national accounts and you are using this module, you would be able to select that here. I'm going to use my standard pricing from my accounting system. And also new in 612, I'll be able to assign the ownership of this bin to somebody else. At this point, I'm going to keep it, however, or later on, if I wanted to pass a job that has been worked on to somebody else, I can go ahead and do that. And I do see a hand raise. Is there a question before I move forward? You can type it into the chat because I don't think you can ask. Okay, quick question. If you start a new project from QuoteAnywhere, does that mean the project does not need to start in WeOpportunity or bypasses WeOpportunity? So yeah, very good question. If I am in WeOpportunity, which I'll go there now, you would still RFQ a lead, and that lead would create a job and then could end up in QuoteAnywhere and or WeEstimate. It's really not and WeEstimate. It's always going to both. If you go ahead and just click on new project, it's as if you clicked new project here in WeEstimate and you are skipping the lead. So you do want to still go to WeOpportunity, create the lead, RFQ it, and on the RFQ screen, which I'll show you really quickly, instead of defaulting it to WeEstimate, you can click create and open in QuoteAnywhere. And that will actually physically open a QuoteAnywhere browser for you, and you'll be landed right into the job that the lead had just created. But even if I didn't click that and I clicked push to WeEstimate, it just doesn't open QuoteAnywhere for me, but it will still be in QuoteAnywhere. If you go and log in, it'll be the first one on the top of the pile. And so hopefully that makes sense. My WeOpportunity here, I think I need to use this one. Maybe a little cleaner for you. Let me show you this really quick before we move on, because yes, these are the two different ways you would create a job. Now, WeOpportunity is going to eventually also be in QuoteAnywhere, so it won't be lead number 123, creates bin number 456, creates a J1234. It's just going to be you're starting a project, and it will be in a lead phase, opportunity phase, then eventually a quote, and then a proposal and a negotiation, and you'll actually be able to custom your stages and phases also, which will be new, right? Today you don't have that in WeOpportunity. So as soon as we have more of that available, we'll be able to, let's do this one. We'll do kind of a full length demo of lead all the way through close. But for right now, today, to take back to your teams, you would go lead from WeOpportunity and then RFQ it to a quote in QuoteAnywhere. So I'll just select these real quick. We'll do an alarm system. I'm going to go RFQ like I normally would. And then at the bottom of the screen, it's defaulting for me to we estimate, but you can pick open and quote anywhere. You can also default it to flip the other way. But when I say create an open and quote anywhere and say OK, it's going to automatically open up now a quote anywhere browser for me. So this lead number just created this job number. And now it opens quote anywhere automatically. I log in and it'll land me right in that job. If I didn't do that, it's fine. It still went over there. I just have to open quote anywhere, log in, and I'd see the job right on the top of the pile here. Okay, cool. Great question. I'm going to continue with this job that I have going, and we'll hit create. And now we just created a new bin. And within this bin, I can now then view the estimate. So this is a little different than how it was in 610, 611, because now that we'll have the full project bin and J1 and 2 underneath it, I created the bin, and then I could open up J1, or if I hit new estimate over here, I'm actually creating the J2 within that bin. So you'll still be able to do that. I do want to just work on J1 right now, so I'm going to click View Estimate. And you're going to see a pretty familiar set of icon screen names going along down the side here. It's basically going to match what you have along top here in We Estimate. You're starting at the customer info screen, which had I RFQ'd a lead for this one, it would automatically have the site, the billing, the contact, because I already did that all in We Opportunity, but I'm just going to go ahead and add that now. So, and actually before I do that, there is a toggle for saying site and billing is the same. If I turn that off, I can pick individual, turn it back on. I do want them to be the same. This is just telling me my taxes are going to be impacted because I have that set in my system. And now we have site and billing. Move on to contact. I need at least main point of contact. We'll add me. And I don't need any other contacts. Now, moving on, and one thing I think is cool is at this point, if I refresh this and open this up, here's the job we're making right now together in QuoteAnywhere. So it's all instantaneously back and forth. This is kind of what we're getting at with the learning objectives on, I could sit and We Estimate on the desktop, or I could open up QuoteAnywhere on my phone, and everything is live syncing with each other, so I could work in either application. We'll move on now to the estimate screen. And I don't have any folders yet, right? If you have a default folder that says estimate, or you have a default folder that's, you have 5 default folders that say access, video, intrusion, fire, you'll still see that. And by clicking estimate summary, this is essentially the equivalent of like the all estimate folders in the WeSuite job screen. This is where I'm going to see the overall toolbars, total material cost and sell, labor cost sell. Right now I just have sell on because I'm going to turn presentation mode off in a little while. But that's basically the same thing as all the toolbars you see along the top in the We Estimate job. And when I want to create new folders, I'll click new folder and we'll make an access control folder. And I also want to create a video system folder. So now I have my 2 folders. And within each folder, I now see the totals for just what's in that folder, as well as items I want to add into the folder. And you're probably also pretty familiar with the Get Latest Pricing button, where I can refresh the pricing on my quote. And we can do that in the overall job level under Estimate Summary again, or the folder level, or the part level. So now I'm going to go and search, and same as you would in We Estimate, I'm going to go, in my case, to Accounting and search for a camera and grab the one that I want. And whatever fields I'm allowed to edit, I'll still be allowed to edit. And again, I do have presentation mode on right now, so I'm not seeing cost. I'm going to flip that off again in a little while. So I'm only seeing the sell price and the extended sell price, as well as the hourly sell rate of labor, any included labor hours that came with this part, and the extended. And so now I have a few parts on my job. I also happened to pick a part that came with some other accessory parts, which is a feature uh, today where I could associate kind of parent-child relationship to parts. Moving on to video, I'm just going to add, a couple things into there. Now the rest of the menus are fairly straightforward. I can go ahead and add individual hours or, add labor onto folders rather than per part. I'm seeing the sell rates here. And so I want to also add some engineering labor, and I need an extra 8 hours of that. And keep in mind, if you have labor already pre-calculating on your labor categories and we estimate, they'll all still follow suit, right? The configuration of QuoteAnywhere is just mirroring everything from we estimate. And what we've added into QuoteAnywhere is going to be all the areas to set your configuration into QuoteAnywhere so that eventually you may not really even need to use we estimate anymore. Same with we opportunity. Doesn't like this labor, but that's okay. We're going to move forward to the recurring, and we'll add some monitoring in here. And let's say we also want a service agreement. This one's calculated, so it's a percentage of some other formula in the job. And now we have everything building. So I am going to now kind of show the presentation mode, which is one of the big pieces of 612. If I show this one more time, here's kind of everything calculating. If I open this and say, let's turn presentation mode off, and we are no longer customer facing, it's now going to add cost, total cost, and GP to each of my line items, as well as the overall toolbars that I was just showing before. As well as here now I see total cost, sell, GP in dollars. My GP and adjust is here now. That's only visible when the non-presentation mode is off. And so I can go ahead and select that, and you're going to have similar options that you did in the toolbar and we estimate. I could say I just want to target seed a price. I could say I want to just hit 30% margin. I can do that evenly or advanced and select, where I want it to go. So this is really just mirroring today what you have in the we estimate side. So calculate that, and it'll recalculate my pricing for me. So very easy. If I'm now back in front of somebody, just flip it back on, and now all of that is going to hide once more. Moving forward, let's say I have half built my quote. Now I am in front of somebody and I want to go out into the field and, walk the site with them and start laying down my devices. I'll move on to the site survey. Now, this is really just a club in the bag. You don't need to use it for every job. It really is meant for being a tool for a salesperson to quickly sketch something up, put some parts down, and have it be syncing with your quote as you go. I could take a photo with the webcam on my device, or in my case now, I'm going to just load a floor plan that I have. And so I'm going to just use some sample floor plans here. Let's use this dentist's office. An important thing to remember here is that if you do name your folders by system type, you'll want to share the same systems on one floor plan. And so you'll move from kind of like canvas mode to share mode as kind of these two icons. And you'll see these will start to light up or deactivate. By linking and sharing these folders, it's now creating a group. So when I go and paste down a floor plan, they both get the floor plan. So it can, it's a little, you have to do certain clicks in certain orders, but once you kind of get it, it makes sense. You want to first link them together, hit save, then go back to the canvas, put the canvas on at least one of the however many folders are linked, hit save one more time, and you should see all the drawings autofill for all the folders in the group. So if you had folder level 2 and you had first floor, second floor, and each of those had an access and video in them, you might have two share groups. One is the first floor access and video is one floor plan, and the second floor access and video is another floor plan. Now when I select each folder, I'm going to still see the same drawing. And over on the right, I'm going to see the ability to either add more parts onto the canvas, or I had already added 6 of these different devices before. So I'm just going to take those 6 I already added and lay them down. Now the 6 I happen to pick don't have their nice little icons on them, but we do have a full library of industry-centric icons so that you can distinguish between panels, glass breaks, card readers, different types of cameras, different type of detectors, a whole slew of icons. We actually just came out with a bunch of new ones, so I'll make note to show you that before we hang up today. But really what I wanted to get across here is now you can see I have 3 of 6 on my floor plan now. And I can also come over here and say, well, I need to add something else that I don't already have. So let me go and search that. And I need, a smoke detector. And here you could see, I can see the icon for smoke detector, and I want one here and one here, and hit save. And now when I go back to my quote, my price went up by $300. And those 2 smoke detectors are now on my quote. And so as I draw, the quote is building, or as I build my quote and lay it out on the drawing, it's all kind of syncing back and forth. Now, I know this is kind of a sneak peek here. If you want a deeper dive into site survey, we can certainly do that. And I think we also have some videos online. But just from a few other important pieces of information, if you don't have a floor plan, there are drawing tools at the bottom. So I can go ahead and just draw something out, or maybe this is like a parking garage off-site. I can indicate, where different kind of architectural type drawings, furniture, where doors and windows are, just to kind of give me a quick shape of the space, and I can just lay things down pretty easily. And you do also have just freehand draw if I'm on a Surface Pro plugged into a monitor, but if you were on your touchscreen, you could just sketch something up pretty nicely. Okay, so we'll save that. And I will make note, if I then came back to the office and opened up this job in WeEstimate and clicked this site survey icon, I would see this same drawing in WeEstimate, so I don't have to go back and forth if I just want to draw it in QuoteAnywhere and then see it and work on the job in WeEstimate. So now let's say, and actually one more thing, if you right-click devices, you will see a few options. Copying devices, adding notes, which can be visible or hidden. If visible, you'll see it floating on the drawing. If hidden, you won't see it on the drawing, but the note will still be viewable from within the software or on a printout. And you could say don't include on the printout either. Okay. Moving on, supporting documents is now also in 612, so I'll be able to add supporting documents here. So this is the menu is really available for me to show you. Adding supporting docs, I can't click the button here yet, but this is going to come before this version is released. And we'll move to the document now. And this is, I think, one of the biggest takeaways I hope you come back with from QuoteAnywhere today is that plug and play. We spin up a URL for you, and your history of all your quotes, all your pricing, all your proposal templates and checkboxes, contracts, it's all already in here. And so I already have a quote package running along it's at the very top of the screen throughout the whole process. There's really A quote package and an active quote is the ability to edit all of these tabs. And once I send a quote, I'll need to now create quote package number 2 in order to work on the quote again or send it in a different way. And so I have a proposal quote in my quote package ready to go. And if you have a nice template set up, you can literally just hit preview and your proposal's ready from the get-go. And so my proposal template that I have by default is pretty simple, but I also have a lot of other personalized templates. So there's a company-wide template, which anybody, as soon as they go to the document and hit generate, will come out. And then there's user level templates that they can create and save for themselves. And actually a new feature coming as we rewrote all of this into QuoteAnywhere is you will be able to create global templates now for users for scopes of work, cover letter, terms and conditions, things like that, which I know is a huge sought after feature from our long-term client base. And so if I come back now and I hit configure, that's going to be basically what you're used to in WeEstimate, which is now I'm going to actually write a cover letter, a scope of work, or pick from my checkboxes, which are this other configure button. And it's the same exact checkbox tree, it's just all folded up. And so you can see by default, I already had certain boxes on, having done nothing, which is, again, the same as if you come over here, go to the document screen, and without having clicked anything, it will automatically have certain boxes checked, regardless of a user even having made a template. So they select the proposal, your template will be blank, it'll just say default, really, and some boxes are checked. But if I said, no, I want to use my default new customer template, this is Joe, Sam template, that is all here. So you'd have all your templates already here. And so for a short period of time longer, you need to create your templates in WeEstimate and see and use them in QuoteAnywhere, but that's all going away once 6.12 comes out and some of the remaining features throughout the end of the year. Now, I also, just for the sake of demos, because I do a lot of demos, have a scope of work template already pasted here. And so, which if you didn't know, you could do that today in WeEstimate as well under my settings and just default a template for yourself. I see that a lot with cover letters. But if I click assign template, here are all my scope of work templates I've ever written or saved. And this is now going to become more global. So as a company, you could save, our default package A template, and all users will see it and be able to use it and then, edit it on the fly. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with my checkbox selection. So we'll preview again, and it's going to spit out another PDF for me, but now with this alternate template. Now, before I go to some of the more admin type things, we'll go and generate a contract as well. So we'll come back now and say, well, let's add some contracts. So all your contracts will be here. And I'm going to grab the monitoring agreement and the service agreement. If those also have checkboxes to be checked or anything to be written in, like a custom text item, you would hit configure. Otherwise, you would just hit preview to see how it looks. And then if I'm ready to go, I can either email it to the client or e-sign it with the client. And depending on which electronic signature you're using, DocuSign or e-original, it will follow the same workflow that you would normally see. I can add reviewers on the fly in DocuSign. I could change the order in which the people are signing. And then by clicking Sign Documents, it's now going to communicate. I'm connected to DocuSign currently, so it's communicating to DocuSign, and then it will send an invite like it normally does, or I can also just sign live right with the client in front of them on my device. And then if whoever needs to countersign isn't physically with you, no problem. They'll just continue to sign via email invitation. So now signing on device is available. I can click sign on device, and it's going to open up the DocuSign portal right on my device, and I can sign. Awesome. So that's really, create a quote all the way through proposal. We'll stop for questions before I go under the hood a little bit. And we're going to set some default checkboxes for the documents and then go into some of the new admin settings in QuoteAnywhere. All right, I don't see any questions, so we will keep going here. Okay. And, I will make note now. Now this is a negotiation and sent. And you'll see right away you won't be able to edit anything. You can't add more parts. You can't mess with your documents. You do need to create a new quote package. And so in order to do that, you see revision 1, sent quote, active quote. I'll select this and we'll manage my quote packages. And I want to create a new quote package. So I'm going to copy this one that I have. I can include the documents if I want, which I will. All that means is it's taking the same documents that I sent last time, as well as the checkboxes and the scope of work I wrote and things like that. If you were going to be copying a job from one person to another, you might still copy documents, but just keep in mind you'd have to maybe fix up your scope if you wrote out the customer's name or something. But it will automatically change customer's name if it's something like customer name goes on the cover page or something. You're really just copying the way you selected your checkboxes, which is like the pricing and the pages. So we'll copy that. And now I'm in quote package number 2, and I can keep working on my job. Okay. So default checkboxes, and some of you probably may have never used this portion of WeEstimate, but under program options, you'll see a few tabs here for document setup and templates. Now, our team internally uses a lot of this for when we are creating your documents, either with our document editor or Crystal reports or custom checkboxes and things. But there are a few areas that you could make changes yourself if you wanted, and it's mostly this document items. Now, I have lots of different proposal documents in here. You probably only have a proposal and maybe a couple contracts. The proposal I'm going to work on is this blue template core that we usually have in demos. And you could see kind of a summary of what that checkbox tree looks like on the top. And then the split screen at the bottom is where you could see all the different checkboxes and whether they're a default for the company as on, or the default is off, or whether you want to hide it. And so, for example, I don't have much of anything hidden on my tree for demo purposes, but for a lot of you that are not using, the test and inspect module, I bet you these are hidden. Or if you're not using, quoting wire by the foot, these 4 are hidden. So if you have areas of your checkbox or your checkbox tree that you never use and you could tighten up and make it a little cleaner for the salespeople, this is where you would do that. And then, of course, if you want the default template to look a certain way, make those checkboxes a default. So by the time your user goes in and logs into QuoteAnywhere and they create a whole quote, generate a document, and go instantly to preview, don't hit configure, that will be the default checkbox template that anyone in the company is going to see. And so pretty straightforward here. I'll just make the ones that I want default a default, and then that is company-wide. Now, individual users can create templates themselves by going to template maintenance from within a job. So it is done from within a job. As we wrote this in QuoteAnywhere, you don't have to make a job just to make a template. So for example, this really only comes up when someone brand new to WeSuite. They've never created any jobs before, and now they want to create some templates. You do have to create a first shell of a job in order to create a template. And then by clicking template maintenance, and I'll just pick one I already have, or let's do the default new customer, it's going to show you the same thing, all your checkboxes, and which ones you want to default on. And then that's personal for my user profile. And then once I save that, then I can have as many templates as I want. And often I will coach teams to do something similar, like default new customer, default residential or commercial, default line item versus lump sum, or maybe you have certain accounts that always like to see things a certain way, or service only quotes that always have equipment hidden. So you can create as many templates as you want, or you could always use a template as a starting point and then check or uncheck things on the fly. As soon as you do change it, it will change from being the template name to saying custom. So just kind of a forewarning to the user that you'd selected a template and then customized it a little bit, so it's not exactly the way your template is. If you went back to that template, it's going to uncheck the box that I just checked. And so if I show you all that again in QuoteAnywhere, when I hit configure, this is the same list of checkbox templates, or if I hit configure one more time, it just reveals the whole tree. All right, if there are no questions about that piece, then I will move on to some other admin pieces within QuoteAnywhere. So I'm going to go back home here, and if you are on 611, you're already going to see 30% of the admin portion done, and you will see the admin tab here. And you'll likely only see probably system configuration and maybe template maintenance, which is what I was just talking about. And what's going to be in 612 is almost the rest of it. You're going to be able to have, creating or adding or changing parts, recurring items, chargeable items, labor, test and inspect. And then under system configuration is what you're used to seeing in system configuration, like regions and offices, users, groups, and approvals. So approvals is in 611. That's why you'll see that. And then 612 is going to have a lot of the rest. I mean, even exporting jobs to accounting is going to be in 612. I can't demo that for you yet, but even the team back at the office that are usually processing jobs from WeSuite into some integrated accounting system, they'll be able to do all of that in QuoteAnywhere. And so even those users really won't need WeEstimate anymore. I think if you were to ask me come October 1st, why would someone use one versus the other, is if someone is still using maybe some of the more exotic features or doing, hundreds of thousands, multi-million-dollar jobs, some users may still be pretty comfortable in WeEstimate. But the goal is that you will see all those buttons and features migrate into the QuoteAnywhere side. So under users, if I go and edit a user, you're going to see a lot of the same things that you have in WeEstimate. Their quotas, their licensing, assigning approvals or commission plans, editing the user's information, whether they're a people manager, they're an engineer, your account is on or off, their login, associating their mapping or e-sign users. People manager, and that's going to be sorted by region, office, and user. And those that list of people manager options and who can do what and see what for other team members. Groups, and that'll have what groups they're a part of, or so I'm in the user administrator, and this is the group that they're associated with. And then we've added new to QuoteAnywhere threshold groups, labor right groups, your past groups, which is kind of a residual feature of WeOpportunity that you'll have in WeEstimate now. You'll be able to pass bins and jobs to a group rather than an individual user. And then if I come back outside of the users and just go to the general group configuration, this is the same as just creating a group like the customer care group. And what is that group of people allowed to do? Well, there's the main user rights. They're allowed to do this, they're not allowed to do that. And so you'll see it all broken down by category, which is probably pretty familiar for this group since this is a group of admins. If I open system config and go here and go to the customer care group here, that's just this all grouped up and folded up. And then, like I mentioned, you can see visually there's new types of groups for thresholds, labor rights, and passing. The approval systems will all be in here. This is actually now released as of 6/11, which came out 2 months ago. I can submit jobs for an approval in QuoteAnywhere, and I can edit approval plans and create approval plans in QuoteAnywhere. So in this case, I have a SAM plan in my demo. It's going to process exceptions, and then when you go to exceptions, this is the if, then, or, but type of rules. Not everyone uses these. Some just say all jobs need some level of approval, but if you do trigger approval based on something being higher or lower than what is standard, that's me triggering or stringing these exceptions together, and then they're triggered based on and, or, if, then, but type of logic. Settings here is kind of where it's kind of a catch-all for some of these other areas, and really we're going to see a lot of the program options start to come into play. So default folders, fixed price contracts, data points, which is hard for me to show you because it's not finished, but data points is essentially going to be data points and data lists are basically the same thing as what you see here when you go to appearances and you say, well, I want to edit my job type list, or I want to create a new lead source list. And in both We Opportunity and We Estimate, we have like a good number of options of lists, and you can use them or not use them, and you can customize certain lists in We Estimate. And so by rewriting everything in QuoteAnywhere, you're going to have a lot more freedom to create any type of fields that you want for both CRM, We Opportunity, and We Estimate. So if you wanted to create checkboxes, drop-downs, text fields, like really be able to customize the opportunity info in the lean so that it's not just, these 4 or 5 drop-downs and 3 or 4 pipeline. So hopefully that's all making good sense here. And so template maintenance, when I come back a layer, here are those templates that I created, Joe, as a user, and now I can edit them or work on them or create new templates without being in a job. And I can also make this global and share it with other users so that as a company, these are just our company templates. And you can see that for scope of work, cover letter, and terms and conditions here. An email body as well, which not everybody uses this, but I think as you move to QuoteAnywhere, it's something that I would definitely turn on when you're within a job. So I'll just come to this job I had already. If I were to email it instead of e-sign it, the body that's I want, I could pick a body template and say, you sure you want to do that? Yes. And now that body is going to show, and then I can edit it on the fly rather than having to free type an email. And also coming very, very soon, waiting for the release of 6.12, but this email will come from your email because of we now have single sign-on for We Estimate. We'll be working on that for QuoteAnywhere as well, but we'll be able to sync to your Microsoft account so that you it won't come from, wesuite@gmail.com or some SMTP type of email. It will actually come from the user's email. So if your customer responds to the email, they will get it in their Outlook inbox. I think Google too, I'm pretty sure. All right, any questions so far? Please type them in the chat, but otherwise, and I'm looking pretty pro group here. So I'm just going to keep on going to the last piece that I'll talk about today, which is the sales forms module and the URG. So the sales forms module, you'll see it on all jobs. You'll also start to see it more in customers and projects. And it kind of piggybacks off of what I was talking about with data points. Rather than just creating kind of free form data points. So if I come into a job, a lot of you have custom drop downs or dates or checkboxes that are all kind of, just waiting for my job screen to open. So out of the box, you project view status forecast and may or may not have commissions on. But if you customized any drop downs or dates or options, you'll see these 3 tabs turn on. And these are not out of the box. This is some user came in and said, I want to create, a drop down that indicates which builder is this, or is this a franchise or not, or what's the cable type I need. And so it just saves, it gives you a place to store this information. And dates operates the same. I have things like move-in date and estimated installation date. And these are just things that I pre-saved. And then options is just checkboxes, which most people are using as a checklist, or have you done or not done something, as a reminder. And so sales forms used to be called business forms for those that have been with us a long time. Really allowed you to take kind of what was great about all of those things, but make it a form that I can generate from within WeEstimate or QuoteAnywhere. And so here's an example of somebody's fire alarm connection sheet, right? This is a client of ours. We changed their logo, but this was a form that all the reps would fill in for every customer. And so now I can easily fill it in WeEstimate, or I could fill it in QuoteAnywhere. And what's really beautiful about this is that you as the user, or really the administrator of the user, can say, well, I want to create another form, or I want to add another option to customer type. And you don't need to call 1-800-WeSuite to add a new checkbox or a field. This is all available for you to create as many forms and fields and things as you need to. And so I could be out in the field capturing information and then come back and see the information in WeEstimate, or vice versa. And then I can have customer level forms, which is every time I go start a new job for the customer, that same form I may have or have not filled in yet will show. Whereas estimate level forms, a new one will always generate each estimate that I create. And so in QuoteAnywhere, I'll be able to fill in the form with somebody, or if I go back to the home page and go back to the admin side, I can create a form in which I can add a form, or let's say on that connection sheet, I just wanted to edit it and change the fields or the layout. I could go to fields and edit those, or I could change the way the layout looks. And we have a nice guide, and we also, our project managers will help you, train you on how to use this, along with the guide and some videos. And usually there'll be a sample form probably that you already have, will use as that starting point, but then go forward, you'll be able to kind of just take it from here. All right, and the last thing I wanted to go through today, coming back to 612, is the reporting functionality. We know many of you are using the URG, so the universal reports are here. The word grid has been taken out because we're not really using grids anymore, so it's just the UR, not the URG. And the views you'd already created will be here, and you'll see the time frames, the columns of data you have on or off, and whether when you've last exported it. And so it's going to be a little different than in WeEstimate. You're not going to see the data within the software. It's going to be more like other SaaS web-based applications. You're going to decide, like, let's say I want to do my, Joe's forecast report, and let's configure it. I can pick the dates and users and stages, and then which columns do I want, and what order are they in, and then that's basically my saved view, and then I can export it. And then that would download the Excel of what you would normally see when you go to this URG. And so if you haven't played with this much, because I do see there are some newer clients on the call today, now that you have some data in here, really learn the URG and play with it. There's a lot of buttons and things. I think as soon as QuoteAnywhere comes out, it'll be a little cleaner, but you're basically picking the time filters, the users, and that's again broken up by region, office, and user. So I could say pull on the whole office or the whole company, or just pull on Samantha. And then the stages I want to pull, turning those on or off. And then the columns. And we do have a nice data dictionary, and this is all in Teachable as well on what each of these columns actually mean. And many of them are straightforward. But you can turn on or off the ones that you want by default for this view. And then that'll be saved. And then, of course, using these up or down arrows, what order you want them in, which doesn't necessarily be that important because once you export it to Excel, you could reorder it or delete columns or do whatever you need. But for those of you that do save very specific views, and you could see kind of in my example, I've got, views from over the years, view on just Mike, view on forecast. I like to also do things like, jobs that I lost, just a view about commission payments. So you can save as many as you need. And what's nice is the users can do this for themselves as well without necessarily having the ability to see other people's stuff. And then the predefined reports are these ones with the blue $sign, where they're basically just point and click. I want to see my top 10 manufacturers on quotes. You just double click it and it's going to spit out. Well, in some cases, I need to pick a time frame first. So let's say top 10 customers so far this year. And let's just do sold jobs. And then it'll show me something like that. Now this is based on status, so that's why it's just showing all blue. But you can see the top 10 manufacturers on jobs that I have sold this year and the totals. And so those predefined reports are here, and you could see those same kind of options, and they're really just point and click. All right. So that's essentially it for the agenda today. I know you're going to see from us a lot of advertisements for upcoming QuoteAnywhere webinars. Each time we're just adding in more and more of the features that are here. You'll start to see release notes for 6.12 soon. If you're not on 6.11 yet, get that in your sandbox. Be on 6.11, so by the time 6.12 comes out, it won't be as big of a jump. And it'll work in tandem with your WeEstimate. You don't need to stop using WeEstimate in any way. Think of it as the mobile app that goes with it. Looks great on a phone too. I mean, I was sitting at a conference 2 weeks ago, resending quote packages and editing scopes of work, like literally from the browser on my phone. So if you haven't turned on QuoteAnywhere yet, do so. It'll be so worth it. We literally just need to spin up a URL and work with your IT team. There's little to no configuration because it's all mirroring what you have in WeEstimate now. So yeah, I'll let Janina wrap us up here and announce some upcoming webinars and talk to y'all soon.
Thank you, Sam. And again, thank you for joining us today. We hope you've learned some good information to take back for yourselves and share with your team. If you need to refer to this webinar again, it will be posted tomorrow on our website under Education and Training Webinars. And don't forget to mark your calendars for our upcoming webinars. On July 15, we're going to have the engineering review job approvals and commissions for sales user training. And for August 12th, we're going to have the We Estimate review of program options. Take care and have a great day, everyone. Bye.